guitar. I've had it for a long time. The action's pretty bad. There's a lot of frets that are messed up. They're worn out and they've been filed, and someone's tried to make some adjustments there. I got this secondhand, but I've had it for about 15 years. I play it lap slide guitar a lot just for fun because it's not very playable otherwise. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you how to make it a little bit better for lap guitar. So this is great. If you have an old junky guitar or a guitar that has a bad action or even a broken neck, this is a pretty good way to take something that is undesirable and turn it into a good different type of instrument, a lap steel string guitar. So the reason you can do that with a guitar with a bad action is because what we're going to do is we're going to raise the bridge, we're going to raise the nut so that the strings are going to end up quite high off of the fretboard. When you're playing slide, you're not really fretting anything by pushing down against the neck. You're using the slide to manipulate the length of the strings to get the different notes. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll show you how I'm going to do that just by taking these pieces of aluminum, just scraps. You could use pretty much anything as long as it's hard. It could be metal. I'm expecting a little bit of a more metallic sound, maybe tinnier, which is nice. I mean, this type of music is generally kind of bluesy and harsh anyway, so it's not going to matter that much what the material is made out of. It can sound a little bit sloppy and brash. So that's what I'm going to do. Just going to file these down until they fit. Taller bridge, taller nut, and then we'll go from there. Okay, the first thing you need to do is remove the strings from your guitar. I've already done that, and I've actually removed the saddle from the bridge, which every one of these will be a little bit different. This one kind of has this metal adjustable container housing with the actual saddle there inside. I think I'm going to get rid of the entire thing. The piece of aluminum that I'm going to use to replace it will almost fit perfectly in the slot there, the channel that it came out of. So I'm just going to replace all of that. This guitar had a sticker of Jim Morris in there. You've probably noticed already. Okay, so I've got my block of aluminum. It's just literally a piece of garbage scrap. And I am going to mark the length of that, mark the length of the saddle assembly on that scrap. None of this is going to be terribly precise or amazing craftsmanship. This is just kind of a beater guitar that's fun to play. And it's got some character to it, so I don't care if it's beautiful or not. So I've marked the length of that. Now I'm going to take a saw, cut that off right there, and then start figuring out what height I want. So go that far. Okay, so I've cut that to length now, and I'm just going to, on this bench grinder, clean up the cuts, see what I can do to round the corners a little bit and try to get it to fit down into the spot where the saddle was previously. And got goggles on, so good to go. Okay, so from here I've got to decide how tall I want this thing to be. And just based on my playing before, I think that the action, you know, right down here on this end of the fretboard could probably stand to go 1/4 of an inch higher than it was. So you can see before, the saddle really was just barely higher than the top of the bridge. So I'm just going to eyeball it, and I'm going to mark my piece of aluminum at what I feel like will give me about 1/4 of an inch higher saddle than I had previously. So I'm just going to do that, and then I'm going to cut the block to the height that I want, and I'll start rounding the edges and shaping it and filing it until it fits in that wooden slot where the saddle assembly came from. So trying to get it to fit in there. Okay, so I've decided that that is the cut that I need to make on my aluminum piece. So I'm just going to clamp this thing to the workbench and go at it with an angle grinder. I got this big metal chop saw, but it's not going to make a long cut like this very easily. So angle grinder it is. Okay, after a bit of grinding, I have a new aluminum block saddle in the bridge, and it should work pretty well. I'm not too worried about intonation or anything like that. It doesn't really matter as much when you're on the slide because you're sort of adjusting by ear anyway, since there's no actuation at the actual frets, but rather at the slide, so it should be fine. Now I'm going to work on the nut. Alright, now it's time to work on the nut end, and I've just kind of got this piece of aluminum angle iron. It's about 1/8 inch thick at a 90, and you can actually buy things like this. They're commercially available for this purpose. This is not exactly how they are, but essentially what I'm going to do is literally just stick it like that, and it changes the point of contact a little bit, but I've changed it on the saddle also, and it should all kind of equal out in the end. And again, it doesn't matter that much just because you're playing a little bit by ear with the slide anyway, just using the frets to aim. So I'm going to cut that, put it on there. I might shave it down a little bit to make it a little bit lower if it's too high. Alright, here is the new nut piece, and I've just taken it. I held it up next to the old nut and I marked where the strings go through. Now I'm going to take this file and I'll just make tiny notches just to guide the strings. The strings don't come off of the tuning pins perfectly straight, so you want some little notches like in the existing nut just to keep the strings all separated how they should so they don't slide around. I'll do that, put it on there, restring it, and see how it goes. Okay, this project is completely done. There is my new nut made out of aluminum. There is my new saddle made out of aluminum. And my action ended up about 1/2 inch high. I don't know what's ideal, but it's much more playable than it was before. I don't accidentally fret anything, there's no buzz, and just feels good. Right? It's completely unplayable as a regular guitar, but it sounds much better than it did before. Anyway, I need to learn some songs, but if you try this, then have fun and good luck.